Hello, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, this is your first video. I'm Uncle Cthulhu, and this channel is my own kind of hobby stuff that I do. There's a bit of role playing on here, predominantly though it's historical gaming. And at the moment, I've been doing a load of videos, a load of content on Black Powder, Epic Battles, American Civil War. So I'm only partway through those, so if you're really interested in that or you like what you see, please do subscribe. It shows me that what I'm doing has got an audience that people like. So the American Civil War, Black Powder, so it's about 12 millimeters tall. The figures come in strips, as you can see in front of you. And in the starter set, there's 2,400 miniatures, which is massive. So I wanted to paint them a lot quicker than my normal methodology. My normal methodology would see me just put down all my base colour paints, so paint everything, put some sort of shade over it, and then pick out some highlights. Now Citadel Games Workshop has brought out a paint called Contrast Paint, and it's highly pigmented inks. The idea is you use a white undercoat or off-white undercoat to do a Wraithbone or a Grey Seer, which works really well. And you can paint on one and it'll shade and highlight you. So to give you an example, this has been one of my test sprues. So this video is on the Confederates. I'll be doing another video on how I'm doing the Union, and another video on further lessons from the front. So, first things first was pick which grey to use. Now there's 3 greys in the range. So the ones here, this is Space Wolf Grey. That's a very bluey grey. This is Basilicanum Grey. And that is your normal black-white grayscale. And this one here was the one I went for. It's a slightly lighter bluey grey, and that is Griff Charger Grey. The other thing I've done is experiment with some musket barrels. As you'll see when I talk about what I'm going to do, I've actually used a different way for my musket barrels, but contrast paints, because it's ink, flows quicker, and it actually just speed up painting that wee bit more. So when my paintbrush comes back, this stuff here, the slightly darker one, that's Wildwood. This is snake white leather. Snake white leather is pretty good, but I'm already going to be using, as you'll see in a minute, some snake white leather to paint my uniforms in bits for the butternut. And this one here, can't really see that well, that was Cryptek alloy, which I've seen some people use. Wasn't quite as strong as I'd wanted. The other thing you see I've started doing on here is somebody talked about some straw hats. So that's it. Yellow hat, and I've got a couple of various ones where I put yellow down and brown Agrax shade on top, or I've done Agrax shade with yellow on top. What I might be doing is kind of this one here, which is Agrax shade with yellow on top. But that's how contrast works. You see how it runs into the grooves and settles things. So my 4-stage painting, and I'm just going to talk through this. I won't use my paintbrush. So first stage, I'm applying the contrast paints. So you see here the browns. So I've started off putting the browns on, and I've picked some random browns there. Confederate uniforms were a lot less uniform than the Northern brothers. So what I've done is picked out some of the trousers there with snakebite leather, some of the tunics with snakebite leather, and a few of the hats. I don't think I'd do more than 4 out of 10 of the trousers, or 4 out of 10 of the tunics, or 4 out of 10 hats, snake white leather. I've then basically gone and pushed the Griff Charger Grey over all the remaining kepis, trousers and tunics. And as you see, I've pretty much covered everything with it. Then I've gone and I've started with the webbing, the straps and the boots and the remaining hats, and I've used Black Templar for that. When I previously did this, I actually painted this with regular black paint. I've gone back with contrast. Like I said before, it flows a bit quicker, a bit easier, and it just speeds up the application process. So 3 contrast paints there. That's the bulk of my contrast work done. That's stage 1. Next stage, I'm going to work with Citadel base paints, and the Citadel colour range normally works. You'll apply base paint, and they've got thicker pigment. They go down first. You'll apply a shade over top of it, and then you'll go back and highlight with the layer paints, which are slightly thinner paints, but they're brighter and they're more pigmented. So stage 2, I've applied a light blue over the trousers. Then I have gone and painted blanket rolls red and yellow. I've painted the belt plates Retributor gold. Now that's probably a brighter gold than I'd use for 28mm. 28mm I'd probably use a dark gold like Balthazar gold from Games Workshop, but I just wanted that to pop a bit more. The other thing I've done is painted the gun barrels XV88. Sorry, the stocks themselves, and then I've painted the metal bits of the guns with iron hand steel. There are some canteen and canteen belts which are painted white, well enough white, pallid witch flesh. I've also painted the hair Steel Legion drab. Then with the skin, I've gone back and I've used a colour called Wraithbone, and Wraithbone is one of the types of undercoat spray you can go. To be fair, probably would have used Wraithbone instead of white spray if I had any left. I didn't, so I've had to use white. So I've picked out all the hands and all the faces. Then I've gone in and put a bit of hair colour in again with Steel Legion drab. Now I know people have got multitudes of different hair colours. For the sake of speed and getting through all these models, I've gone for Steel Legion drab as that kind of mousy brown, unify, nice and quick. So that's a Citadel layer paint. So see some of the muskets are turned around, so I've got a bit of metal on the sort of triggers there as well. So the next stage, I'm going to go back to contrast, and I'm going to start using a bit of shade, Agrax Earth shade. So what I've done is I've used contrast on the faces, and that's Guilliman flesh I've used. And it's okay if this goes over the Steel Legion drab for the beards and stuff on the front. The other thing I've done then is taken Agrax Earth shade. So Agrax Earth shade has gone over all the rifles, and that starts darkening it down, and you can see where it starts shading the barrels there. The other thing I've done is where two colours join and I want a bit more definition, so I've painted Agrax Earth shade along where the trousers meet the tunics, a wee bit round the bottom as well to give the trousers a bit more of a muddy look. Some of the trousers are left the Griff Charger grey, and I've just coated them with Agrax Earth shade as well to darken it down. Put Agrax Earth shade on the blanket rolls as well. The other thing, I've kind of squished it in where there's a lot of detail in, so for example in this bit here, and it just covers a multitude of sins and helps hide where the colours join. And then on the back you can see where the Agrax Earth shade is starting to bring out the details on the blanket rolls. Good point. I haven't remembered to put Agrax Earth shade on these trousers, which I'll go and get back to, or maybe I just decided to leave them like that. Blanket rolls, put Agrax Earth shade on the whites of the canteens as well. And when I'm putting it on, I don't mind that it runs over each side a bit, because that adds that definition there between the Griff Charger grey and what would be the pallid witch flesh covered with the Agrax Earth shade. Let's grab another one up. There you go. So you can see it darkens down the top of the trousers. It just helps get a bit of definition. So whenever you need to hide something, when you paint with contrast paint, occasionally it doesn't quite pull the way you'd expect it to, so you might see a tiny bit of white showing through. At this stage I'll just jab a bit of Agrax Earth shade on it. So the next stage is starting to finish up and tidy up the final stage, if you will. So what I've done is gone around the base and painted that with dark brown, which is going to match my basing system towards the end. I've put on the blankets, I've put a layer yellow on and a lighter red on, just to make them pop a bit more. Then I've also gone back, once that's done, with a bit of yellow or a bit of red on the blankets on some of them to put a few lines in to make them look a lot more homespun again. I've gone over the white as well, and I've picked out some of the white canteen straps as well to make them stand out and pop. really is, this is really just the simplest one. Anything else as well that you think you might want to tidy up at this stage, always have a good look at the models and just make sure that's where I want them to be. And finally, this is the models when they're finished, mounted on a base. I've used PVA glue and put sand on the base. I've then used a watered down colour that I used when I put it on their base in the previous stage, the same colour. And I water that down and it soaks into the sand a bit better. Once that's dry, I'm going to dry brush it. And dry brushing it is just taking your brush nice and lightly, nice and quickly over, steel agent drab, and then once that's dry, you've sharp debone. When you're getting in the middle here, I am just doing that. It doesn't need to be perfect in the middle, and I've normally found the grooves are long enough to get my brush in. And because I've darkened it down on the base, you know, I'm not too worried about getting sand and or the paint in between the feet when they're mounted on the bases. But there we have it. Oh, finally, a last touch with command bases here as well. So again, wee bit of highlighting. In fact, I'll take this one here. Done a bit of work on the drums. I'm just using base coats, the red and yellow, and highlighting them up and keeping that consistent for the extra colours across the units. And that just again speeds it up when I'm batch painting. Make sure a bit extra colour on the sword to highlight that up. But there we are. Nice and simple. I am investigating ways I can make this quicker. So if I do make any more shortcuts, I'll do a wee video on that. I am going to try and paint up some models using predominantly contrast paints. So I'll let you know how that goes as well. I'm going to do a similar video to this later on in the week about painting the Union troops. Union troops are actually slightly easier to paint because they're a bit more uniform with the colours. So in terms of being easier, I mean quicker to paint. I've got some videos planned which we're talking about terrain and how you can use terrain in the box, getting terrain from elsewhere. I've got quite a large Union Callisto Army rebase. I'll be doing some more videos on that. I have the remainder of my beginner's guide videos to go, so if any of those sound interesting to you, do subscribe, because at the moment, between various factors, I'm not getting videos out as regularly as I want, but certainly I'm still doing 3 or 4 videos a week. But anyway, if you've got any painting shortcuts with the miniatures, do let me know. I'm always happy to chat in the comment section beneath, and I'm always looking for shortcuts as well. So there you go, that's been my experience of painting these models so far. Let me know yours. And that's bye for now.